Welcome to our deals of the week. We have what I think might be one of the best deals that I have seen yet in the year or so that I've been doing these videos. And this house is in the the Pasadena on the Gulf neighborhood. I'm going to show you where it is so you can get an idea. Pasadena on the Gulf immediately makes me think of a flood, and it's not in a flood zone at all. And it's actually a very, very good location. It's right. Let me just zoom out here a little bit so you can get a feel for where we are. Here's downtown St. Pete, and this is all of our great Gulf beaches. And here's the house right here. So this is central, and you can get downtown, just go over a couple streets and then right downtown, a straight shot to downtown, maybe 15 minutes. And this is 34th Street here. So if you're familiar with St. Pete, the downtown like entertainment corridor, all the restaurants, museums, and all the bars and stuff are right in sort of this area here. So you're maybe 15 minutes, 15 minutes out to the beaches. St. Pete Beach is my beach, so I go out over the causeway. But this is just a fantastic location. It's called Pasadena on the Gulf, but it is not in a flood zone, which is really cool. Let's go through the price action. And this is what really caught my eye. We're going back to, I think, 2022-ish prices here. And we'll see that this house was put on the market at end of January at $580, which was $286 a square foot, which doesn't sound bad to me. If that was the price right now, I would say that doesn't sound terrible. That's not going to, it's not going to scare me away. I mean, wait till we see the pictures, and it's all about condition and all that kind of stuff. Within 2 weeks, they did a $30,000 price drop. Obviously, no action at that price. Another week later, $25,000, and then $15,000 a month later. So they took a little bit of a pause to see how things were going. And then just a few days after that, dropped it another 15, and then another 10 just a couple of days ago. So, I mean, you're talking $105,000, $105,000 price drop, $235 a square foot. I mean, unless this house has fallen down, it's worth a look, to be honest with you. So let's take a look at some of the photos and see what we think. Now, the first thing that I notice is the first picture doesn't show that great. It doesn't look that great to me. It's not terrible, but it does need a little, freshening up, depending on when the pictures are taken. And this was a January listing, so it's in the middle of the winter, our dry season. Unless you put a lot of effort into a nice St. Augustine lawn, you're going to get a lot of dead grass or brown grass here. So it's just not a great picture. And I think people are probably scrolling past this without considering what might be inside. That's just the way people shop for houses. So there's the location, but we can see a big open living room, super clean. This is a room off the back of the house. I mean, this is a nice touch with the wood ceilings here. This looks really nice to me so far. The only issue really that we have, or one of the issues that we have, is just a 2-bedroom. And it's 2,000 square feet, which is a little unusual, to be honest with you. It's hard to tell what this house might have started out as. My guess is this might have been a garage. It's a little bit hard to tell, but a 2-bedroom and 2,000 square feet is kind of unusual. Nice touch here with this sort of mid-century look front door. Nice, clean. I think the tile is a little old and maybe a little dated, and we can kind of see, the grout is a little dirty. I mean, as long as there's no cracks, that can be cleaned, and it gives you a nice neutral palette to work off of. In the background here, we see this was a fireplace, probably a natural stone that they kind of turned it into, they added some color to it. I mean, if that's not your taste, you could obviously paint that over. But a huge living room, a nice dining area. I mean, look at this living room. We got a nice sort of living room. I think this house is staged. Whenever you don't see a TV on the wall, that's typically means it's staged. So it's probably vacant. So we got a nice kind of formal dining area here, which you could turn into a little den if you wanted to. There is a breakfast nook over here, which we'll get to in a second. That's how big this room is. So there's kind of our breakfast nook over here. So you have two really nice places to set up a dining table. Again, this is not a yesterday renovation, but the house looks nice and clean. And then you have, this is I don't even want to call it a bonus room because it's a full-size living room with yet another table here. They kind of have it set it up as games, which is a nice touch because I don't think you need 3 dining areas in your house. And I don't know, honestly, if you could carve out another bedroom here. And, because I have this set up sort of as a den now. And then, I don't know, it's hard to tell. I'm sure there's something you could do if you absolutely needed a 3rd bedroom, especially at this price. But the primary bedroom is huge. The primary bathroom is quite big. And even the 2nd bathroom is a decent size. I don't know. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. I think this is a absolute winner. I would go see this house. This would be, I mean, even for an investor, I think you'd get, well, for an investor, it might not be quite right because at this price to get a 2-bedroom, the rents might not warrant that price for a 2-bedroom. I think you'd have to add that 3rd bedroom in here to get the rents you wanted. But this is a really nice house at $235 a square foot. We've got a 10-year-old AC. So, and the roof is 2020. So the roof's 6 years old. The AC is a little bit older, but they do have a 4-point inspection available. I love when the listing agents do this. 4-point inspection here in Florida means that you can go to the insurance company and show that the plumbing, roof, AC, and electrical are all satisfactory, which would allow you to get insurance. So that's a positive. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. I think this house is a winner at a price that I didn't think we would see. I mean, remember in the run-up during the pandemic, we were seeing houses that were not really even move-in ready at 300 plus per square foot. And now we're back down to 235. That's 2021 pricing. I think the owners here are going to be taking probably a little bit of a loss, but this is Pasadena on the Gulf, no flood zone, 15 minutes to the beaches, 15 minutes to downtown, really good location, a little sprucing up of the outside. I think you have a winner here. Drop a comment, let me know what you think. Let's take a look at house number 2. Let's take a look at house number 2 here. And this is another, I think, fantastic house. This is, these prices seem super low to me now. I mean, I know that we're in a buyer's market and things have come down, but we're seeing some real bargains here. This is in the St. Pete Heights neighborhood. I don't think we've done a video in this neighborhood yet. Let me show you where it is. It is pretty close to downtown. If you're familiar with the grid system that we have set up here in St. Pete, which makes it really easy to get around. We are right here. So interstate, 10 minutes to the center of downtown, probably a 20-minute drive, 25-minute drive out to the beaches. We are in what I call the no flood box here, which is this sort of center part of St. Pete. Now, there are some other areas where it's closer to the water that it's not flood. Like this is all flood zone. This is pretty much all flood zone. The beaches in South Pasadena are flood zone, but you're mostly safe in this area. There's some parts of Fossil Park that are in a flood zone. So this is solidly in the non-flood zone area. Let's take a look at the price action on this one. See that this house was on the market. Oh, this one's only been on the market a few weeks now. So they put it on the market April 8th for $365, which was $262 a square foot. Arguably a really good price. Now we're down to $254 a square foot. It shows you what kind of buyer's market we're in. So $355. And going back to the price history, this house sold, it was listed at $285 when things were really running hot, and it sold for $335. So we're getting to a point where if you bought your house, honestly, this is just for St. Pete, it's not true in every market, in 2022 or later, 2023, and you need to sell now, unless you've done some improvements or you're in sort of one of those special neighborhoods, Old Northeast or Crescent Lake, something like that, you might be taking a loss, because what we're seeing here is that at $335, they said, let's list it at $365. We'll break even, make a couple of bucks after commissions and taxes and all that kind of stuff. And now it's only $20,000, and that's, they might make a couple of bucks on this house, and they've had it now for 4 years, and it's difficult, I know. So let's take a look at the pictures, see what we've got. The exterior, I think, looks really nice. It's sort of cottage style house. And you can tell that this was probably an open front porch at some point. Again, this is the danger, I say danger, this is a downside of listing in the winter here in Florida, unless you have really nice St. Augustine and an irrigation system and all that. A lot of the grass dies in the winter here, which argues for bigger landscaping beds here with some micro irrigation so you can maintain some green. And I would argue that this is going to affect this house. If they would have spent, this is just a critique, not being critical of anybody, the owners, listing agent, anybody, but I'm spending $1,000 on landscaping out here to make it some, seasonal flowers and stuff, giving it some color, I think would have probably stopped people from scrolling. And that's all you're trying to do when you sell your house, is try to get people to stop scrolling. So that's the exterior of the house, and you can see when we step inside that this is the entryway, probably a front porch, an open front porch, but gives you a little bit of room before you get into the house. Nice open living room. This is what you saw a lot in the 40s and 50s and earlier, is these arched doorways, which is kind of a nice touch. Looks like the original hardwood floors. And again, not a yesterday renovation with the, the black appliances and the darker cabinets. A closed-in kitchen, we probably would see most people go with white cabinets now, but they look to be pretty nice to me. And so that could be set up as a little dining area, very big primary suite. Nothing wrong with that. Now this is a 3.2 with 1,354 square feet. So it's not, I mean, it's on the smaller side for a 3.2, but a lot of times we see 1,000 square foot houses get chopped up and turned into 3.2s, and it can be very tight. Decent sized primary bathroom, fairly recent renovation there. This house is nice and bright. I don't like crank out windows. That is a problem for me. You can see the little crank right there. They're not the most energy efficient. They're certainly not impact, so that would be something that I would look to change sooner than later. But otherwise, super clean, decent sized second bathroom. I mean, nothing super special here. This picture here, I think, is maybe a little misleading. It makes the room look bigger than it is. This is virtually staged, and it looks like, this desk is smaller than it would be if it were an actual desk and not virtually put in there. And there's the third bedroom, and you got, kind of a blockbuster backyard, a beautiful deck back here. And again, I think this is probably turning some people off. You got essentially no landscaping. You got some nice bamboo for privacy, but other than that, there's no grass or really any plants back here. They did stage it a little bit with a nice little Adirondack chair and umbrella there, but I think it could use some sprucing up. A little storage shed. And you're on a corner lot there, which is not everybody's favorite, but I would just put a fence up there. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. I like this house. I love it, love it, love it at this price here, $254 square a foot. If I could be within 15 minutes of downtown in a move-in ready house that's a 3.2 for $254 square foot, I mean, I'm jumping on that. I think this is a really good deal. We don't know, obviously, some of the systems, they didn't list roof age or AC age. So drop a comment. Let me know what you think. There's a 1,400 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, 10 minutes, 12 minutes to downtown, about 20 minutes to the beaches, not in a flood zone, perfectly move-in ready, corner lot. I think this one is a win, if you ask me. Let me know what you think. That's our deals of the week this week. My name is Steve Reynolds. I'm a realtor here in Pinellas County. I live in St. Pete, but I cover all of the Bay Area. If you're thinking about buying or selling, shoot me a text, give me a call, send me an email. I would love to help you out, and I will see you next time.